thank you, Ambassador Christidis. And it was a really nice introduction. And as you can see, most of my experiences in the former Soviet Union, beginning with my time as a Peace Corps volunteer in Russia, which on a day like today feels like a very long time ago, not just chronologically, but also in terms of the shape of history and the change of events. So, it was very nice to speak with Ambassador Dandua on the break between sessions. And the first time I ever heard of the term Black Sea security was in Tbilisi, and Georgia was a real leader on this topic following the Wales Summit in 2014 in terms of really highlighting the threat that Russia represented to the Black Sea. And NATO was responding at that time, and Georgia had a lot of proposals. But I think the new war has really accelerated that. So for those of you who were here yesterday, you heard my colleague Eric Holmgren speak more on energy and economic issues. So my remarks today will focus more on the security side of things and the political dimension. So 2022 is the 75th anniversary of the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan. And we have celebrated that with our friends and partners here in Greece. And these were two really seminal events in the formulation of the U.S. response to the threat of the Soviet Union and the emergence of the Cold War, which is a war that I'm glad to say that we eventually won together. So Russia's war on Ukraine is another similar challenge for the transatlantic relationship. And while the people of Ukraine are suffering the most, the war is testing all of our resolve, and it is a test to our collective values and to global security. So, but we actually have a 4-star general in town today. He's General McConville. He's the Chief of Staff of the Army, and he's here to visit some U.S. troops for the holidays. And when we saw him this morning with our ambassador, he said, "I'm really happy to say that NATO has never been stronger." And I think that's because NATO has risen to the challenge of Russian aggression and emerged more united. The United States has provided $7 billion in security assistance to Ukraine, and other allies in the region, including Greece, are making significant contributions, including lethal assistance to Ukraine, and we welcome their support. The United States told Putin that his actions would draw a worldwide response from our democratic allies and partners, and it has. The Biden administration is committed to placing allies and alliances, especially NATO, at the center of U.S. foreign policy, and we're actively working to ensure that they reflect and respond to the current challenges. In that spirit, we'll continue to strengthen the alliance's capacity to address all threats to transatlantic security, including terrorism, the malign use and emergence of disruptive technologies, cyber and hybrid operations, and other challenges to the international order that I think are particularly acute here in the Balkans and in the Black Sea region. We'll continue to protect critical infrastructure and develop energy security, which again was addressed mostly by my colleague yesterday. Turning more to the Black Sea and the Balkans, these regions have made tremendous progress, moving from conflict to peace, cooperative development, and towards stronger democracies with stronger security and defense postures. NATO has substantially reinforced its presence in the Black Sea region and is increasing the number of high readiness forces across the alliance to well over 300,000 troops. After the illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014, we have implemented a stronger enforcement of our collective defense, especially in the Black Sea region, as I mentioned earlier. And we now have what we call enhanced vigilance activities that are helping the allies monitor and be more present in the Black Sea region. When NATO realized that Russia was planning a full-fledged invasion on Ukraine last fall, we further added to our presence in the Black Sea region, including at the MK Air Base in Romania. Additionally, in the Black Sea, we see that the UN and Turkey mediated the agreement, which resulted in the shipments leaving Ukrainian ports and the region under the Black Sea Grain Initiative, bringing millions of tons of grain stuck at Ukraine's ports to those facing food insecurity around the world. Turning to the West Balkans, we note other positive developments. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, we praise the general elections, which occurred on October 2nd. We appreciate the EU's leadership in EUFOR Althea, and we support the work of High Representative Schmidt to address longstanding power-sharing problems resulting from the Dayton Accords. Returning to Serbia and Kosovo, we agree that with the EU that recent developments are concerning and put the progress that's been achieved in the EU dialogue at risk. Therefore, we continue to support the EU-facilitated dialogue as the best path to advance Serbia and Kosovo's European future. And we congratulate Albania on achieving the start of its EU accession negotiations in July and remain committed to supporting its transatlantic path. And I would note that Greece has played a helpful role there as well. Together, we're working to combat corruption, organized crime, and to provide energy security as well as cyber defense to Albania, especially following the Iran's destructive cyber attacks in Albania. Last, turning to Greece, we often say that the U.S.-Greece bilateral relationship has never been stronger, and that's true. Greece views cooperation with the United States as vital to its national security and plays a stabilizing role in the Eastern Med and the West Balkans, as I've already mentioned. The Prime Minister was in Washington this May and met with President Biden and gave a historic address to the Congress. Greece was one of the first allies in EU member states to send lethal and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. In May of this year, Greece's parliament ratified the Second Amendment to our Mutual Defense and Cooperation Agreement, and U.S. forces have increased access to ports and bases throughout Greece, including the port of Alexandroupolis. Strategically located in northeastern Greece, the port of Alexandroupolis is vital for the transport of NATO military equipment to counter Russian activities around the world. So in closing, our countries are at the forefront of the struggle between democratic values and tyranny. And as I was coming down here today and thinking about the fact that I was going to the Acropolis Museum, I was also thinking about the fact that I'm only beginning to learn Greek's history, but as I understand it, the development of democracy in Athens essentially occurred after a period of intense war between the Persian Empire and the Greek city-states. So perhaps we can draw from that lesson, and we'll find that as we emerge from this era, our democracies and our values will only become stronger. Thank you.